Hi. I wanted to share something interesting that I assume is very important for our task. I am in the Valley of Fertility. Actually, I am in the parking lot of the Valley of Fertility in the south of Cyprus. And the first thing that I saw when I arrived here is this. It's painted all over. And it's very symbolic because remember that the first crop circle that appeared was that symbol, the blue one? That means that is a cross, of course, and people related to Christianism. But also, there's something much more ancient about it. And there is, on top of that, there's another symbol, which is very interesting too. It's a red one, which is called Swastika. So the swastika is also a very ancient, interesting symbol that I think in our path is important to understand better. And then we have another symbol here, which is the blue one, where the other black cross is on top of it, that it looks like if someone did a wrong swastika, but actually is a very ancient Greek symbol that means the waves of the sea, Poseidon, the people of the navigation. So it's actually waves of the sea. So what does this mean? What is all of this? Like, I literally parked in front of this and I'm the only one here. So the reason why this is so interesting in our journey is because I'm talking about the navigation system of Earth, and we have to find the steering wheel of Earth. So guess what? We have here the waves of time, Poseidon, and on top we have the steering wheel of the boat. So what is the steering wheel of the boat? Is these two symbols combined when they get together. And usually in history they have been divided in different symbologies. But let's go to what do they represent. The blue one is actually not a cross, it's actually Earth and solstice and equinoxes. Yeah, solstice like this and equinoxes like this. So remember that an equinox is a moment when the Earth is in the same, like the equator is at the same distance, North Pole, South Pole, towards the sun. Yeah, so they are equinoxes, which means the nodes are even, they are equal towards the sun. And then the solstice means that the equator goes down and only one of the noxes, of the nodes, which is the north or the south, is pointing towards the sun. So solstice means the sun is still, which means that suddenly the sun is, the North Pole is the only one observing the sun, and the Earth stays still one day there, and then it starts to move back, and in the other position, the south is facing the sun, so we have the other season. Okay, so those are the two moments of solstice in relationship to the sun, and the two moments of equinoxes in the two, which marks the four seasons. Okay, so that is the symbol, and it's very ancient. It's not Christian, it's not related to any religion. It's basically the oldest symbol that you can find everywhere that reminds everyone that we are bounded in time, that this is it, that's time. Okay, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you are affected by this cross. So a lot of people in history, they put the sun, like this circle being the sun in the four positions that we can see the sun, and so any being that represented the divinity on Earth, which means representing the sun, would have that symbol on their back, in their heart, around. So the circle of the sun with the cross. And then we have the space one. So that was time. But what is the space? Is the red one. So what is the red? Is the rotation of Earth. Is the spinning of Earth. So how Earth is moving throughout these equinoxes and solstices. Okay, so that it's very interesting because the swastika then represents the other directions of time. So there are two swastikas that create a box. One swastika spinning in one direction, which is the North Pole, and the other swastika spinning in the opposite direction, which is the South Pole. So when you put both together, you create a box. You create a square with a cross in the center. It's not a circle, it's a square. So that square with a cross in the center represents Earth. And the circle represents the sun. So when you have only one direction of the swastika, it means that it's rotating in a specific position, in a specific direction. Either is right or left, north or south, east or west. So it represents the different powers. So when you have the swastika in one specific position, it means that the south has the power or the east has the power. But if you turn it in the other direction, it means the west has the power or the north has the power, okay? But it represents space. So when you have these symbols together, one on top of the other, what you have is the steering wheel of consciousness. It means now I know how to navigate time and space. But what happened in humanity? Cultures put those symbols against each other, and they became religious or communist or socialist or against religion, against free thinking in both sides. So one movement was against religion and the other one was against that movement. So throughout history, those symbols became separate. And even the symbols of the sea, they stopped being used as the symbols of consciousness and the moving of time and the navigation of time, and just became a decorative thing. But this here, you see these waves, they represent time and earth. So with a black circle on here, so this represents earth traveling through time. The ocean of time and earth being the space. And above you have the steering wheel of the boat that is navigating this ocean. So these symbologies right now here is like if someone tried to say, oh, this is my symbol, and no, this is my symbol, and I don't want that symbol here, I want that symbol there, and I'm more powerful, and all this craziness that humans have created. But actually all the symbols are the ones that are trapping the captain of the boat, which is the mind. Your pineal gland is basically in the center of all of that. So the moment you see those symbols, and instead of using them correctly, we use them to divide and to think that we are against each other. So that's the moment that the steering wheel is broken. And I mentioned also that Colombia is the steering wheel. And the reason why is because that red symbol, if you put the symbol on top of Colombia, the swastika on top of Colombia, you will have the four corners of the country, but in the opposite direction. So from Tibet to the Andes, we have these two symbols, and Christianity and the Hellenistic world has the other symbols. So we have them all spread around, and when you have the square with the cross in the center, which is Earth, with two directions of rotation at once, you have a very ancient symbol that is called the City of the Sunset, which is when the boat is sailing on the horizon. And the city of the sunset is called Jerusalem. So it's the symbol of Jerusalem. And where the sun sets for Jerusalem is the Mediterranean Sea. And the first thing that you see in that land is Cyprus. So here we are. Si el capitán del barco está en nuestra cabeza, en nuestra glándula pineal, y el poder de nuestra creación, de la creación a través de la imaginación, está dentro de nuestra cabeza, es como la computadora que está procesando toda esa información de creatividad, de creación. Eso que explicaba antes, hombre es pensamiento y mujer significa útero de pensamiento. Para activar ese aspecto femenino dentro de la mente, es necesario calibrarlo con la tierra. Y es muy interesante que la glándula pineal, que es la reina en este reino que es nosotros mismos, la glándula pineal, la abeja reina, es regulada por los genitales. Las hormonas de los genitales son las que regulan nuestra conciencia. Y esto tiene mucha relación con Baco, con Pan, que es el dios del vino, del sexo, de la celebración, el que toca la flauta. ¿Y por qué está tan relacionado con los penes, con el sistema fálico? Porque Pan, Baco, este dios de la celebración, el dios de la fertilidad, es el que canta a las musas, es el que toca la flauta para que las musas se enciendan, creen, cuenten historias, digan poesías, construyan, hagan sus danzas, creen música. Las musas son los 7 chakras. Las 7 musas representan los 7 chakras del ser, que se encienden a través del falo o a través de los genitales, que representa la Kundalini, la ascensión. Por eso las piedras son como canalización entre cielo y tierra, como conductos eléctricos que encienden la Kundalini. Y por eso la sexualidad, desde el punto de vista sagrado, tiene el objetivo de crear en cada uno de los chakras. No solo crear un bebé, sino también crear emociones, historias, poesía, danza, arquitectura. Y todo eso es lo que activa la pineal, ¿no? Entonces, esta conexión es fundamental. El ritmo que está en el corazón entre los genitales, que es la materialización, y la conciencia, son lo que los tres crean la piedra filosofal, manifiestan esa creación. Entonces, cuando hablamos del poder de la creación del ser, o de devolverle el poder a la conciencia, tenemos que retomar el poder en todo nuestro cuerpo, en todo nuestro ser, y crear ese circuito constante eléctrico. Pero como la conciencia está perdida, no tiene rumbo, no sabe dónde ir, toda la energía sexual o la energía de poder es desperdiciada y no se usa para la conciencia, sino que se usa para la destrucción, para el control, para el poder. Por eso es tan importante que entendamos cuál es la energía sexual en las divinidades para los antiguos. Por ejemplo, la sexualidad, el amor, la sensualidad de Aphrodite, que nació justamente en estas costas, según los mitos. Esa divinidad de la fertilidad, divinidad del amor, divinidad de la sensualidad, es en realidad la que activa el reino de la conciencia. Pero como el barco no está dirigiéndose correctamente, entonces todos los símbolos son deteriorados y nos alejan de nuestro proceso interior de conciencia y se convierten en cosas sucias, de control, de poder, a los cuales intentamos alejarnos o de los cuales tomamos como tabú, ¿no? De esto no se habla, no se puede decir. La conciencia está atrapada, entonces. Por eso, una de las primeras cosas que hice al llegar aquí es ahora mismo venir a este espacio de fertilidad, a este valle pequeño de fertilidad, y construir una rueda medicinal o un timón de ese barco a través de el símbolo fálico, que no es masculino, sino que es un símbolo de empoderamiento personal. Tanto para la mujer como para el hombre representan estabilidad. Imagínense yo ahora mismo sentado así, en esta posición, ¿sí? Esto sería la posición fálica, ¿sí? No es de un hombre, es una posición de meditación, ¿sí? Acá podemos ver dos huevos y un pene, ¿no? En cada uno. Acá hay 12 penes y sus huevos, ¿no? Los 24. Pero en realidad lo que representan es un ser meditando, activando todos los chakras, ¿sí? Entonces el símbolo fálico no representa solamente algo de poder, sino estabilidad y presencia, ¿sí? Por eso, para llegar aquí, mi intención fue crear un útero, que es este círculo, donde las horas del reloj, las 12 horas del reloj, con sus 24 horas duales, positivo o negativo, noche y día, están representadas. Y esto, en tiempo y espacio, representa empoderamiento del timón del barco en la reina, que es la conciencia. También lo podemos ver como una corona, ¿sí? Como la corona de la reina, con sus 12 puntas. Con este espacio abro mi camino y mi tarea aquí en Chipre. Y a ver qué es lo que me encuentro por aquí. Interesante. Compré algunos productos de miel de acá local. Interesante que la señora que estaba en el museo, la dueña de la casa, me preguntó: ¿tú sabes por qué las abejas se están yendo del mundo? Y le digo, bueno, creo que tiene que ver con la tecnología, con que las señales, las antenas, la tecnología que hemos desarrollado son muy sensibles para las abejas, cambian las frecuencias en las cuales pueden navegar. Ellas navegan por frecuencias y encuentran las flores a través de las ondas de frecuencia. Entonces, cuando el planeta está controlado por completo por las ondas de la tecnología, eso inevitablemente las hace perderse y por lo tanto desaparecer. Y me dijo, sí, mi marido dice lo mismo. Mi marido es matemático y dice que es por eso. Y luego me dice, bueno, Matías, si descubren alguna forma para ayudar a las abejas a que regresen a este planeta, por favor, háganoslo saber. Porque esto no es solamente para los científicos y los que saben, sino esto es una responsabilidad de todos. Me encantó que dijera eso. Así que atraer las abejas al planeta de nuevo. Thor. poco de viento. A little bit of wind. Este lugar donde me encuentro es Petra tu Romiou, y es donde, según el mito, aquí nació Afrodita, la diosa Afrodita, de estas espumas de este mar en el Mediterráneo, en la isla de Chipre, en este lugar. So it's a little bit windy. Hello everyone. So here I am in Petra to Romiou, and this is the place of birth of Aphrodite. And I wanted to summarize a little bit a story. The father of Aphrodite is Kronos, which is time. And the father of time is the universe, which is Uranus. So Uranus is the king of the kings because it's everything, is the cosmos. And Kronos wants to take over, wants to take over the kingdom and start to manipulate space through time. So what he does is to kill his father, and he does it by cutting his balls and releasing his sperm in the sea. And the semen of his father, the sea itself, the salt, becomes Aphrodite. So she's born in those rocks right behind me, according to the myth. And from there, she creates beauty, love, through time. So then the same thing happened when Zeus, the son of Kronos, the god of lightning, wants to kill his father, so light can take over upon time. And he's the brother of Aphrodite. So there are many stories about these gods and goddesses, but actually what they are describing is how time creates the beauty, how evolution, the beautiful of nature, the beauty of nature in the mineral realm, in the vegetal kingdom, in the animal kingdom, and everything that we can see and perceive is basically thanks to time. So when the universe, which is infinite, starts to become finite, when it creates limits, so when you cut the infinite in finite moments, you can quantify the reality and you create time. So this quantification of time allows beauty to exist. Geometry that turns into mandalas, that turns into biology, that turns into evolution, and everything that we can see in the beauty of the world. So it's a translation in a myth of something that happens in the universe constantly, all the time. And from all of that, we have spoken about this, how every chemical element in the universe that shapes itself and creates beauty is a god, because God actually is just a light, is a spark in the universe. So when we believe in a god, we are actually believing or loving, to be loving something that is shiny, that shines in the universe, that is touched by photons. So you can see it, so you can discover it, you can enjoy it. And that's the beauty, let's say, of the beauty of the universe. So in this story, what happens in this story is that the elements are trying to create something new, which is the consciousness of life. And to create that consciousness, it requires for them to let themselves disappear as gods to become like humans, for example. So creating different tiny little lives that will experience their infinite position in Olympus. So what they did is to create something that is the alchemical wedding. And the alchemical wedding is when all the elements of nature, they come together and they connect the infinite of beauty in the universe, which is the ocean, Thetis, where Aphrodite was born. And they unite all of that with something very simple, but that has the will to create, to rule itself and manifest, which is a man, which is something, an animal, someone tiny, let's say. And that's the wedding of Thetis and Peleus, where all the gods get together. And then there's a problem. The Holy Trinity, which is Hera, Aphrodite, and Athena, which is love, wisdom, and will, they get in a conflict because the goddess of discord, the one that creates dissonance in the creation, says why I was not invited to this party, to this alchemical wedding. So because I haven't been invited here, I have brought a gift, which is a golden apple. So a golden apple here represents a toroid. A toroid so perfect that if it moves itself one tiny angle, what happens is the universe is destroyed. So it's basically like an electron holding a proton in the center, and it moves in such a perfection way, such a perfect way that holds the entire universe. So that is a toroid, that is that apple. So what happened with that apple? She says discord, Eris, the goddess of discord, she gives the apple, and she says to them, who is the most beautiful one? But what is the meaning of beautiful here? Remember, if beauty and love, Aphrodite, is the goddess of beauty, so it's evolution, actually. So who is the one that is more perfect in transforming itself? What is beauty? It's everything that exists. It's not just about what you see, it's about the harmony of everything. So the Caliste, which is written in the apple, is to the most perfect one, to the most beautiful one, to the one that achieved everything. So the three goddesses start to fight who is the better one. And the alchemical wedding starts to be a mess. So what Zeus does is to talk to Hermes, the messenger, to look for a man that would be able to choose the right one. And that ended up to be Paris. And Paris, the prince of Troy, was the one that had to choose which one is the most beautiful one. And when he chooses Aphrodite, because of she offering the most beautiful woman ever in the world, the pact, the Holy Trinity, is broken. Power, which is will, love, and wisdom, they get broken, and humanity chooses love without wisdom, without will. And they just want to be saved and loved, and that's it. And then will and wisdom start a war against love. And it's basically an atom breaking apart and creating a disaster. It's like Uranus taking over again, the infinite destroying everything. That's uranium, like an atomic bomb. So when that happens, the war of Troy and Greece starts, which is Turkey and Greece. So all the Greeks tries to take over the regions of Turkey, and Turkey tries to escape the regions of Greece. So that creates a crack in time. That creates something that is broken. And the reason why it's broken is because they choose Aphrodite. And Aphrodite was born here. And the conductivity of copper, Cyprus, Kupros, is the one that brought love, the conductivity of the womb, of the creation of the beauty, here, to this place, to this island. And today, this island is an echo of that conflict, of the snake, the discord, biting the apple that gives the wisdom in the wrong way to women, and they create a different humanity from where we were supposed to live. Not women, remember, woman. A thought that creates. Yeah? A thought that creates. It's not about women biologically. It's a thought that creates. So when those thoughts are the wrong ones, and they are not guided by wisdom and will too, only by love, then all the toroid starts to spin in the wrong direction. And we start to create a mess. It's like Earth having no north. And that's when the snake, the electricity, starts to create a mess, a disaster, cracking everything like a lightning, destroying the creation. And that's why we are here. Because if you read a little bit about Cyprus, Cyprus is cut in half. It's cut in half because in the north, Turkey, the snake has taken over, and in the south, Greece has taken over. And in the middle, there is a crack, a wound in time that is trying to be healed in the land of Aphrodite. That wound today belongs to everyone, the UN, and even though no one can go in. So our work in these days is to understand the crack in time, because this region has a story to tell, and it's the story of everyone.